Good hair.
Oh, yeah, Halo.
You've been a good boy.
An electric halo.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority Legislative Committee meeting. It is July 10th. It is 9:02 a.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. All right, our first item on the agenda is our public comment. Do we have any?
No.
No public comment. Then we do have quorum. So our first action item is to approve the minutes from the May 8th, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
Have a second?
Oh, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Harry, you're next. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, good news for PSTA this week, right, Brad? I mean,
Yes.
a banner week, I think. I'm sure you saw the story in the Tampa Bay Times today about the PSTA's award from the Federal Transit Administration of $27.8 million, Brad, for bus facilities, low-no bus program. So this money will enable you to buy 12 new electric buses, right, Brad, and the charging infrastructure for each of them, and 4 hybrid buses. So that's really exciting. I know Brad got a call from Congresswoman Castro on Monday to give him the heads up that this was coming. You were the largest award in the state of Florida. There were 7 awards for Florida. You were the largest. You were the 12th largest in the country of 108 that communities have received grants. There were over 500 applications. So kudos to Brad and the team there for submitting a successful proposal. And I saw in the story today, Brad, that Polly Trottenberg, the Deputy Secretary of Transportation, had some really nice comments about PSTA, including one that said, I think you all are really leaning into the next generation of transit investments. So I think PSTA the Department of Transportation and FTA are really aware, I think, of what you all are doing. I think some of your meetings, you're coming up here for the AFTA conferences and going over to see FTA every year and talk about your commitment to electric buses has been a huge help. If you remember 2 years ago, right, Brad, you were at AFTA conference, I think, and got the notice of the last bus and bus facility grant for $22 million. So those were, I think, 2 of the largest awards that PSTA's ever received from the federal government. So you're doing the right thing. Congratulations to you all. I know, Brad, we had some good conversations with FTA when you were up this spring, and I think some of the information that you learned from FTA at that provided some good strategy on how to achieve this award success today. So congratulations to you all for that. Other good news this week is today the House Appropriations Committee will take up the fiscal year 25 Transportation Appropriations Bill that funds a whole variety of federal transit programs that support PSTA. But most importantly, included in that bill, sorry, there's background noise here, included in that bill is $850,000 that Congressman Castor requested for you for the improvements to the 34th Street corridor to provide a more premium service going up 34th Street. So she was excited to support that. That'll be approved by the committee today. It's going to be a few more months until these bills become law, but just hang in there. You'll eventually get the funding. And on that note, Brad, in the appropriations bill they'll consider today, even though the bill took a 6% cut over last year's funding level, it did, for the most part, fully fund the president's request for federal transit programs. It fully funded the Formula Grant Program, which is almost $6.8 billion, which is a key program for you all to receive funding for some of your other capital investments. And it does fully fund the president's request for a bus and bus facility grant award program for next year. So despite the difficult number that the committee had to mark up to, they actually did a pretty good job, I think, for federal transit programs. Brad, it did take a bit of a cut on ferry boat programs, pretty much eliminate all the ferry boat program funding. I'm not sure if you were considering that for next year or not. My guess is the Senate will restore that funding when they go to conference. Outside of that, I don't have anything else to report. I think we should stop with all the good news. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Well, thank you very much for that update. I texted Brad, what was it, like 10:30, quarter to 11 last night? I said, hey, you're on Fox News, congratulations. So yeah, I was on the news last night too, it was great.
I missed it. What was the dollar amount again?
missed it.
27.8 million dollars
Are these,
for the
I'm sorry, go ahead.
FTA grant. For the $27.8 million for the grant and $850,000 for the congressionally funded project by Congresswoman Castor. So two different projects. By the way, I would note I saw in the story this morning that Mayor Welch had some really nice comments too, calling PSTA the best run transit system in the country. So congratulations on that too.
Wow.
Yeah, good
Awesome.
news.
It is. Are these 12 electric buses on top of the 60 already planned for?
Yeah, these,
Awesome.
so,
Well, no, I think it goes towards the 60, right?
no, these are,
This is in addition.
in
No,
addition.
60 is what we
What we have on order
already
now.
had
Have on order,
going
right.
on. Okay.
This is
Okay.
additional.
But it's hybrid
This is
buses
addition.
too, right?
Well,
Right,
yeah,
this
there are
is
four
gonna
hybrid.
be a mix of electric and hybrids combined. Well, thank you, Harry, and let me just say, I think it was a pretty excellent combined effort from lots of people in this room, from riding the bus with Congressman Castor to going to DC to a lot of work, as you remember, when we went to DC, we talked about, hello, Commissioner, we learned that they were giving they gave you extra points if you coordinated with other cities. And so we, really, Henry Lukasik did a great job of coordinating with his other fellow maintenance directors in other Florida cities. And we put in our application that we do a joint procurement for the whole state, that we led that, and then we specifically identified that Gainesville and Orlando basically buy the exact same buses that PSTA buys. So they, as Harry might have just noted, I think FTA really recognized Florida generally, because Florida, I think, got the most total money, or maybe second to California, but a really good chunk. And Orlando and Gainesville and PSA all got about the same amount of money, the 27.
Wow.
So I think it would do a lot of things. We went on a podcast. There was this Henry and I went on to a podcast about it, and we had that lady come down from FTA to the board meeting. You remember?
Yep.
I think having those people know that PSTA exists really helps get it done. So that's good news, and it is really good news about the congressional. What's the official name of it, Harry? It's not an earmark. It's called something else.
Congressionally directed spending.
Directed spending for 2025. That's next year. We're trying to work on the 2024 earmark that is going through the process now. That is a combination of electric infrastructure for PSTA and a pier and a tram for the city of St. Petersburg to operate along the pier, an electric tram thing. And so I think we have an agreement that's going to go with the city of St. Petersburg now on how that will work. So that project's moving forward as well.
Very interesting.
So.
Hey, Brad, it's Harry. Can I add one more thing on that? You know, this grant from the FTA, the $27.8 million, also includes money for workforce training to help you train your workforce to service these new electric buses. And I know, Brad, FTA really recognizes PSTA, the quality of training you all provide. I think you had some folks from FTA down earlier this year to talk about some of your training programs. So they're acknowledging your leadership in that area too.
Yeah, it was good. We heard some positive things about that training that we held. That was the first, frontline training. FTA is very proud of that they're getting out there in the field and training, providing direct training assistance. So that's good. That's positive too. Yeah. So, Harry, when do you think that you said the appropriations bill is being voted on by the full House or the committee today or this week?
The the full committee today,
Oh.
probably the House sometime later this month.
And do you have any prediction on whether or not they can get a budget passed before the election, or no, probably not? What do you think?
I would say it could go either way right now. I think a lot depends on what happens in November. I think if there are some members in the Republican House that want to hold all the appropriations bills until the next year, until there's a new Congress in place. So I think a lot will depend on what happens in November.
Okay. So
I'd say it's 50-50 whether they get done by the end of the year, Brad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well,
Great news. Any questions for Harry? Anybody? Anybody have any questions for Harry? Well, Harry, thank you so much for that wonderful update and the great news this morning. Myself, I am just overwhelmed with excitement about that. I saw it on the news again last night on TV. I thought that was wonderful, and I just think it's great that the staff and Brad's team and all the hard work they're doing to get these grants is incredible. I think it's wonderful. Oh, David, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I'm so glad the FTA finally realizes where Pinellas is. And PSTA is backing that up, seems like every year, so it's nice that they really recognize us.
Yeah, I think when we went up there for the Clearwater project,
Oh,
someone
yeah.
didn't know where.
They thought we were in the panhandle.
Well, yeah.
Well, and I think, Brad, to the commissioner's point, I think, Brad, when you received the RAISE grant 3 years ago, I remember 2 years ago, Polly Trunberg was there. I think you went over and saw the secretary and the deputy secretary in Tampa to get the big check ceremony. So
Yeah.
she definitely knows where Pinellas County is now.
Good. We gotta hang out with this Polly lady more. She seems to have the money. Excellent.
All right, anything else? We're good? Thank you, Harry. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Harry.
Thanks, Harry.
All right, Brad, are we gonna have Ron, or?
We're not gonna have Ron, but unfortunately, but he has gave me an update.
Okay,
You know, there I would say there's two things that are immediately being monitored by Ron. Thankfully, the DOT keeps promising to have some regulations sent out to every transit system in the state on advertising or on the wraps on the buses. And I was told, Ron told me first, and then DOT even told me that we were going to get the regulations on July 1st. And today is July 10th, and we don't have them yet. So Ron said yesterday that we should have them maybe this week or next week. But those, what we've heard, are basically going to not allow any wrapped buses, a PSTA or anywhere in the state. That's what Ron has heard, and that's what Mingao from Florida DOT told me he had heard also. So I think it was good that we held off on that, because I think that's basically going to be the way things go into the future. Ron told me yesterday that from what he heard that they're also going to issue some new regulations on changing lanes, lane repurposing, but he wasn't really sure exactly what that entailed. I think, Abhishek, you had told me, maybe you had heard that they were wanting to have like ridership estimates or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to be part of it. We'll just have to see. Anyway, so there's regulations coming out that are related to that House Bill 1301 that was implemented during the legislative session that we're monitoring now. Ron Powell, once that bill was out, then we would try to have a second meeting with Representative Cheney and the whole delegation as well. Try to meet with them and talk to them all about all the good things that PSTA is doing, and trying to work with the legislature as best we can with this advertising stuff and all that. So
I've got a quick question. When you say no wraps, like, when you wrap the bus to say PSTA, you can't even do that. Can
you
it
can
say
have like your PSA
logo and stuff,
No
That
advertising.
doesn't require.
but just no
a-
advertising?
Yeah, well, we're trying to, I've heard a couple different things,
Yeah.
about whether or not, like private ads.
So you
that
can
might-
still have Morgan and Morgan ads and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah. At first, I heard, that maybe those would even be banned, but then Ron, told me yesterday that he thinks that's not accurate. So we'll just have to see.
Interesting.
So is this just in the bill stage now?
Well, no, the law,
It is a law.
passed, and
Rolling.
then it was signed by the governor, and then it requires the Florida DOT to issue regulations regarding these rules, and, those were, I first told them they were gonna come in June, then July 1, now sometime soon.
Okay,
So the specifics are up to FDOT.
Yeah,
yeah, okay. Well,
Keep us updated,
yeah.
right?
Right, because we need to see how that affects the contracts we have on advertising.
Yeah, we contract out with a Lamar, a big outdoor advertising company, to sell the ads on the sides of the buses. So whether it has an effect on them or not, remains to be seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does it seem as though to me that we're waiting on specifics legislatively as to what type of ads versus from who we purchase the ads from? Because if we are allowed to do Morgan and Morgan, and say Morgan and Morgan wants to support a Juneteenth endeavor as a part of their advertising package, is it gonna clarify that? So it's not so much for me as to who, it's the what.
Yeah.
What we're wrapping the buses with that I'll need the clarification on. Because I mean, if we can take Morgan and Morgan, Morgan and Morgan can say, I wanna do a bus,
We'll end up with a bunch of pot smoking buses.
Yeah, oh,
Morgan
stop.
Morgan.
but yeah, so if we do something like that, so hopefully that'll be a clarification as to who, and then the what the limits are on that.
Well, I will say that, so when it regards to the private paid for ads from Morgan & Morgan or whoever, those are governed by a PSTA board-adopted advertising policy that is very carefully written to be compliant with the First Amendment and but also try to keep PSTA out of a lot of controversial ads, so that the policy, the way it's written now, states that the ad has to be for a good or service. So I'm not sure, like a private company could not pay for a, I don't know what the amendment is about the marijuana, but, or, like
Like
a
a
thing like
political
that,
ad.
or
Yeah.
they couldn't pay for an ad like that, because that's not a good or a service.
Yeah.
We also prohibit alcohol, tobacco, and any illegal activity, so cannabis.
All the fun stuff.
Falls under that, so.
Yeah, but I would hope we wouldn't even entertain alcohol or marijuana or.
Correct.
I don't know how that got in the conversation, but,
Yeah.
I was really just talking about other events that have caused such an alarm in regards to our bus wraps and marijuana.
Yes,
and whatnot.
yeah, to Brad's point, it's supposed to specifically be promoting a commercial transaction, so they could advertise their legal services, but they couldn't advertise a holiday kind of thing.
Okay.
What about an event? So if the people who put on the Clearwater Jazz Festival wanted to do an ad on the bus about the Clearwater Jazz Festival, that is not a good, nor is it a service.
It's a ticketed event, so it is a
It's an
commercial
event.
transaction, if they have to
Okay.
purchase a ticket for the event.
Okay.
Okay.
Like the Rays,
What if
the
it's
Rays
free?
advertise on.
If it's a free, that I would have to check with our lawyers on, but if they have to purchase a ticket, I know that constitutes a commercial
We're
transaction.
going back to free this year,
Okay.
just to let everybody know.
That's exciting.
Nice.
But, and that policy, I don't know, just depending on whatever the regulations come from the DOT, we might have to revisit PSDA's advertising policy.
Yeah,
To make it compliant.
Interesting news today,
Yeah.
very interesting,
yeah, really.
right?
Read it
A
this
lot going on,
There's a lot going on.
different moving parts.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments, Council?
No, that was the first thing I read this morning whenever I went online. So very good news.
Yeah, I was telling, a little before you got here, last night on 11 o'clock news, I was texting Brad at midnight, I was on the news. About
Yeah, it
electric, yeah, it was great.
It was the most money, or we got the most money in Florida, right?
Yep,
We have the most
Yes.
money in Florida, yeah. Just by,
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
just a
it's,
little bit over,
as long as we're number
I know.
one,
Exactly.
that's all that matters.
Chris, just so you know, it's because of you. We got
I
Because of all
guarantee
your
you.
hard work in Tallahassee.
It was from Washington.
No, I,
and,
Yeah.
It was just very good that we, you know, the amount of funding that they allocated across the country was substantially higher. And, I was grateful that we were able to get some of that.
it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think that all the positive comments that went with it were very helpful too to PSTA.
Yeah, yeah. It's helpful when you have good people go to DC and introduce those people.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to them, yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed that. It was very educational going up there with Harry, the leader of the pack.
Hopefully the same strategy will work in Tallahassee. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
that's what we're trying.
All right, anything else? Any other questions? Any other comments? How about any other business? Anybody? Brad, that's it?
That's it for now.
All right,
For now.
then the next meeting is August 7th at 9 a.m. And I hope to see everybody here. And I want to thank David Albritton for your dad's gavel. Meeting adjourned.
By the way, I won't be here next meeting. I just gave a list of meetings. I'm going back and forth, next couple of months. I'm gonna miss some meetings, so I wanted them to make sure they knew that.
Okay.
I am gonna miss planning committee meetings, so.
Really? All those meetings you're gonna miss?